The holidays can be particularly rough for seniors, especially those on fixed incomes struggling to make ends meet. They may not have the funds to visit family or even to buy presents they want to give their grandchildren. But attorney Eric Olsen has some good news for struggling seniors for the holidays and for 2026 as well. The founder of the Helps Law Group explains why seniors don't have to worry about debt if they can't afford to pay it. We hope his wisdom brings you peace of mind as a helpful holiday gift. Hey everyone, happy holidays. It's Jeff Hoyt, and today once again I have the pleasure of speaking with Eric Olsen. Eric is the founder of the Helps Law Group, and he's been spending decades helping people, especially seniors who are struggling with debt. Welcome, Eric.
Happy holidays to you too, Jeff.
So I don't know if we can say happy holidays to everybody, because right now a lot of seniors are struggling. The
Right.
economy's tough, prices keep going up, and seniors tend to be on a fixed income. And we just want to, make sure they have enough money to buy gifts for the grandkids, visit the family. I mean, the holidays, you need some extra money.
You do. So if you're a senior having financial problems, you're not alone. The National Council on Aging uh, recently reported that a staggering 80% of older households face financial insecurity. They struggle with needs and they fall into hardship because, their income's gone down. They don't have a lot of savings. Costs have gone up. Medical costs. Sometimes a spouse passes away. And in addition to that, a lot of them are just living in pure poverty. And so there are a lot of seniors facing financial problems. But this is my most important message to seniors that are facing financial problems the holiday season. They need to understand this one thing, Jeff. If you're faced with debt problems, seniors need to understand that their Social Security, their pension, their disability, their VA benefits, their IRA, their 401k, this type of retirement income is protected by federal and state laws, and it can't be taken from them. It's available for their needs. And not only that, even if they're sued, this money is protected in their bank accounts. So that's good news for seniors, that if they owe debt, they don't have to pay it, and no one can take their retirement income from them.
Wow. And we're talking about the holidays, but obviously this applies, for 2026 in the future as well, correct?
In the past, yes.
Well, you're saying the past, but I'm sure there are some seniors who have paid bills they didn't have to pay because they didn't know about this. So do seniors know this information?
No, they don't know this information. Uh, I get 40 or 50 seniors in the room, maybe 10% of them understand that their Social Security has protected their pension. And they think, well, maybe if someone sues them, they can take money out of their bank account. Uh, no, their income is protected. A rule went into effect in 2012 that tells banks, if a bank gets a writ of garnishment on someone, they examine where the money came from. And there's a code on the deposit. And if it came from a federal source like Social Security or a federal pension, then the bank takes that sum that a person gets each month, times it times two, and they automatically protect that sum from garnishment, regardless if there's other funds in the account at the time of the garnishment. So if you got 1,500 in Social Security, 3,000 is protected in your bank account automatically by your bank without you having to do anything. So the important thing seniors need to understand is that their income is safe, and if they simply have debt they can't afford to pay, they can stop paying it. No one can take their money. It's available for them.
Now you deal with seniors on a daily basis, struggling seniors who are, have too much debt to pay. Do you have any anecdotes about people who didn't know about this and then you were able to set them straight?
I talk to people all the time that don't know about it. They're very thankful they found out. I remember when I started Helps, I did probably maybe 30, 40,000 bankruptcies before I started Helps back in 2012. And I remember when it was pretty new, I talked to an old guy. I remember when I told him how his income was protected, he needed to pay the debt. And he looked at me and kind of tears welled up in his eyes. And he said, "You mean I can buy my grandson a present?" And I said, "Sure you can." You know, So yeah, I hear stories all the time. People that find relief when they realize that their income is safe.
That's heartwarming. Any other reason that seniors with financial difficulties should feel better for this holiday season?
Well, actually, there's quite a few of them. So your income is safe. Then there's a federal law that went into effect back in 1978. That's the year I graduated from law school, called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And that law provides that if you send a debt collector what's called a cease and desist letter telling them you don't want to receive any more contact, they can no longer call or send demand letters anymore. And the law also provides if you're represented by an attorney, a debt collector has to contact the attorney and not you. That's what HELPS does. We represent seniors so that collectors can't bother them. So a collector could be sent a cease and desist letter, and they got to leave the person alone. Okay, so you don't have to be subject to hounding phone calls or demand letters. They can't collect from you. Okay, they can't bother you that way. You can stop the unwanted contact. Okay,
The harassment.
the harassment.
Good to know. Now, at the end of the year, people who have lots of assets are trying to do some tax saving strategies before New Year's rolls around. But people who don't have anything, they're just worried about paying their tax bills. Do you have any good news for them?
Most seniors, if your only income is Social Security, you're probably not even required to file taxes. Okay, but if you have a certain amount of income over that, you could be required to file taxes. But maybe you've retired and you have tax debt from the past. Okay. Um, First off, taxes the IRS can collect for 10 years. After that, they can't collect. And if you're lower modest income, maybe about $2,500 for a single person or a little bit more, and 35 for a couple, and a little bit more, and you owe taxes, you can often qualify for what's called currently not collectible status, CNC status with the IRS, and not have to pay anything for the taxes. So even if you have lower or modest income, like I've talked, or you're near poverty level, whatever, and you're paying the taxes and you're going without food or medicine, you could stop paying the taxes, and IRS is unlikely going to do anything. But if they did, the most they would do is send you a notice they intend to offset 15% of your Social Security after 60 days. That give you time to contact the IRS and get on currently not collectible status. So if you find you're owing the IRS in your lower income report, the government wants you to use that money for your basic needs, your food and your medicine, your heat. Okay, you don't need to pay those taxes. There's a way to resolve that. And if you owe the state any taxes, a state is like a credit card. They can't garnish your wages. They can't take your Social Security. They can't take your pension. Money's protected.
Well, good to know. And you mentioned credit card, and if people don't pay their bills, you're saying they can't be sued they can't collect on a lawsuit even if they lose in court. But what happens if you don't pay a debt? Won't your credit score take a dive? Is that something seniors should worry about?
Yeah, but let me talk about this. You mentioned a senior could be sued. Okay, I'll talk about credit score in a second, but I want to just clear up just because you send a cease and desist letter out, Jeff, doesn't mean that the creditor can't sue you. They could still do that. So if you're sued and you owe the money, sometimes the lawsuit might just say you're supposed to appear at a certain date and time. But if you read it carefully, that's only if you're going to contest the lawsuit. But if you owe the money and you're not going to contest the lawsuit, you don't need to appear in court at that date and time. They can get a judgment, but as long as you keep your money less than twice the amount in your bank account, then even if you're sued, a creditor can't do anything to you. And what HELPS does is what we send letters to attorneys that sue our clients, let them know our clients' income's protected. And we remind our clients that their income's protected. Now, as far as establishing credit, okay, a lot of seniors that are lower income or poor, first off, they may not need credit, or maybe they have a credit card with a smaller balance, and they might choose not to pay 3 or 4 of the credit cards and maybe keep 1 or 2 with small balances. Banks don't care if you don't pay your other debt. They'll let you keep your credit card as long as you make payments to them. So if you stop paying your other debt, doesn't mean that your credit is going to be, your credit card for the credit cards you want to keep is going to be shut off. Now, you need to use them occasionally. If you never use them, they're going to get cut off. But as long as you state payment on a credit card, you'll be able to keep that. Okay. We have a program that helps to help people establish credit. Your credit is based on your recent credit history. So even, and that program is free to our clients, but even if you, stop paying your credit is based on your recent credit history. So even if your credit takes a dive, you can rebuild your credit.
Well, it's good to know. And if someone wanted to reach out to Helps in order to get help getting a debt collector off their back or to reestablish their credit, like you just discussed, how would they do that?
Well, they contact us toll free 855-435-7787, 855 helps US or helps us. HELP stands for Help Eliminate Legal Problems for Seniors. And we don't turn anyone away that needs our help. Maybe 1 out of 7 get our help for free. Those that pay a very minimal amount. But we represent seniors ongoing, literally forever, so they don't never have to deal with collectors again. The most common thing we hear from our clients is that peace came back to my life. They don't have to worry about the debt anymore. And if they're worried, they call us on the phone. So I think that's good holiday news for seniors, is that there's hope. They don't need to be distressed. There's an answer. And part of the problem, Jeff, is this information we talked about isn't widely distributed. Debt collectors don't want seniors to know this. Companies that help people pay their debts, debt management companies, even the nonprofit ones, many of them never say anything to a senior about the fact their income is protected and they don't need to pay the debt. Instead, they sign them up, putting some of them in utter poverty, making payments they don't need to make. So it's important the word gets out, and seniors should see that they're struggling. There's good holiday news. That money they have, they're using to pay debt they can't afford to pay. They can stop paying that debt, and their income's going to be protected.
Well, that is some good holiday cheer that'll carry over to the new year. Thank you so much for sharing this information, Eric, and we'll try to get it out. Have Santa spread it from chimney to chimney around the world. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.